Hey guys, Outdoor Gypsy here. If you enjoy hiking, backpacking, or just simply put the outdoors, then you've come to the right place. Come join my brother and I as we hike the Cirque of the Towers loop here in the beautiful Wind River Range of Wyoming. For those of you interested in a little bit more detail on this trip, hang tight until the very end of the video. I will be sharing some of my thoughts, tips, tricks, things you may want to know before you plan your own adventure. Let's get some nature love. Day 2. Got a little chilly here last night. Kind of made for pretty decent sleeping weather. We're going to be pushing to Shadow Lake or Billy's Lake, depending on how crowded Shadow Lake camping is. Yesterday, we didn't really catch much in the way of fish. The lake here is also very shallow. We didn't have a lot of time. There may actually be some bigger fish in here. New days, new adventures. We'll see if Shadow Lake or Billy's Lake brings a little bit more fish our way. Day 3. Welcome to the beautiful Cirques. Yesterday was a very interesting day. It was only around a 5-mile hike. We hiked all the way here to Shadow Lake and it was drizzling and overcast and just honestly downright cold the whole day. Finally got to Shadow Lake here, set up camp, and the clouds started breaking away a little bit, and by late afternoon the sun had come out and it was just magical here. Fortunately, my brother got to do a little bit of fishing for a few hours, was able to pull out 4 brook trout, and then by the end of the day we set up a campfire under a starlit night and really just went to bed happy. Today we have a short little jaunt over Texas Pass where we'll be setting up camp at Lonesome Lake. Along the way we're going to be doing a little fishing at Barren Lake, since yesterday we were tipped off by somebody else who had fished there that the fish are biting quite nicely. Should be a good day. See if we can fill our bags with a few more fish. day 4, wrapping up our first tour here in the winds, and they have lived up to their beauty and their might. Beauty is on display right now behind me. We're actually going to try and get boots on ground a little bit early today. They're calling for some thunderstorms by late morning, early afternoon, and we're trying to get over Jackass Pass, and last thing you want to do is be on a pass in inclement weather with lightning. We'll see what day 4 has in store. Fist bump, Mikey. Did it. Nicely done. Dunzo, guys. Another adventure crossed off the bucket list, and it looks like just in the nick of time too. Rain's been coming down on us for the last 30 minutes or so. Thunderclapping in the background. Feels good to be done. If you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. In the meantime, I'm gonna grab a burger and a beer since I'm starving, since I haven't had anything to eat all day, which is my own stupid. But I'll see you guys on the next adventure. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm gonna be going over some of the details on this trip as well as my personal take on it. Let's jump right on in. My brother and I did this hike over the course of 4 days and 3 nights from August 24th through August 27th. The hike is a loop style hike, which is my personal favorite. The total distance we had clocked here was 29 miles with a total elevation gain of 5,000 feet. The highest altitude we had reached on this hike is 11,200 feet. One of the challenges of this hike is just simply getting there. This hike is quite remote and it is tucked away in the Bridger Wilderness, and you'll have to do a 2-hour drive from the closest city, that being Pinedale, Wyoming. 1 hour of this drive is on a pretty rough dirt road that you really should consider using either an all-wheel drive vehicle or even better, a 4-wheel drive vehicle. But we did actually see some sedans and even I think a van or two doing this, but I wouldn't recommend it. The parking lot to this trailhead is huge, and I even think there's a pretty large overflow lot if needed. There is a pit toilet here, thankfully, since it is very remote and, you know, there aren't really many services. This is shared amongst a bunch of adventurers, from rock climbers to hikers, backpackers, and I think even horseback riders, and don't quote me, but possibly even mountain bikers. So big parking lot, but a lot of adventurers coming out here. The mosquitoes this time of year were neither really bad nor really light. It was kind of average and kind of what I expected. I would say they were the most notable at Lonesome Lake and the climbers camp. Other than that, they were pretty nominal. I hiked this entire trip in shorts, which I'd love to try and do just because I'm usually hot. I didn't have any ticks on me during the trip or after the trip, so also another plus for the area. Some of the different wildlife we had seen on this trip were bald eagles, several different types of hawk, marmots, bighorn sheep, pika, brook trout, and cutthroat trout. Just some of the pictures I had taken of the wildflowers on this trip were yarrow, fireweed, golden ragwort, fleabane, common dandelion, parsnip flower buckwheat, arnica, great purple monkeyflower, Indian paintbrush, lupin, American bistort, elephant's head, mertensia, columbine, harebell, and New England aster. I'm going to be going over just a real quick synopsis of each day here and just my perceptions and thoughts as I was doing this trip. Day one, it was kind of a shorter day. We got out there late just because, again, it was very remote. So we got out there late afternoon around 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. It was about a 6-mile hike to Dad's Lake, which is where we set up camp for our first night. It seemed like a fairly boring start to the hike for the first 3 miles as we were just coming off backpacking the Teton Crest Trail a few days ago. After the first few miles, it really opens up and you see what you're heading towards. We hiked past Mirror Lake and camped at the north end of Dad's Lake. My brother tried fishing the north side of this lake for 30 minutes or so, which proved kind of fruitless, and he didn't land any fish. We did meet a group, however, who had fished Dad's Lake, and their reports were that it is loaded with trout, but they also fished the southern end of this lake. I would say the highlight of this day was by far after we were setting up camp. I was just chilling by the sunset and we got to see a bald eagle on the north side of this lake. It was just awesome. Day two was a little bit of a rough start when we packed up camp. When we woke up, it was quite cold. I think it was even drizzling a little bit as we headed out. But the good news was it was only a 5-mile day. The hiking itself was easy. We passed by the tranquil Marms Lake, which eventually opened up into sensational views of expansive mountains. As we inched closer to Shadow Lake, the drizzle turned to intermittent snow, which made me wonder if the remainder of the day would finish similarly. As our luck would have it, the storm parted to the sun and ended as a beautiful evening. The views of Wolf's Head and the Cirques are breathtaking from Shadow Lake and justifies the hype it receives. My brother caught 4 brook trout and had countless bites here at Shadow Lake. Plenty of campsites at Shadow Lake, but we watched so many people pour into this area in the late afternoon, it felt like New York City with backpackers. A little pearl of wisdom I want to share with you guys here is most people are going to camp on the east side of the lake. If you are willing to get your feet a little bit wet or you're going to rock hop to the west side of the lake, there's less campsites, but they are very pronounced with where they are. And all I'm going to say is there's one campsite that's a little bit further north on the west side of the lake that is just absolutely stunning. You're by yourself and you just have world-class views of the Cirques and Wolf's Head. Day 3 on trail started out just as beautiful as day 2 had ended. While it was brisk, it was also invigorating. This was a 7-mile day for us. In contrast to the first 2 days, this was difficult hiking to get up and over Jackass Pass, which called for some intermittent scrambling at times. Billy's Lake is highly underappreciated and would have been preferred in hindsight over Shadow Lake for its solitude. We were tipped off earlier in the day that Barren Lake was chock full of trout and we decided to give it a shot. I happened to catch 3 brook trout and my brother caught not 1, not 5, but 9 brook trout all in an hour's time. With our egos inflated from fishing, we elected to start for Jackass Pass, which was an ominous sight of rocks and blue sky. The apex of the pass was nothing short of pure bliss, and at this very moment is what made me glad we decided to do this trip. Descending down the other end of the pass is a real knee buster, and everybody would benefit from some hiking poles on this stretch. Lonesome Lake itself is gorgeous, but much like Shadow Lake, it has a lot of people, and not everyone here was respectful of the rules. We only had a short bit of time to fish Lonesome, and my brother caught a single cutthroat here. Harder fishing for him compared to Barren Lake, as my guess is this gets fished more frequently. We ended the day with the company of some chill rock climbers, shout out Cameron and Tyler, and a crazy great fire under an exquisite star-filled night. Going back to Lonesome Lake and the rule breakers, there's plenty of signage no matter which end you come in from. It says don't camp within a quarter mile of the lake. I saw a decent amount of people still doing this. Remember, you're saving this for other people in the future, so try and abide by the quarter-mile rule. You're still going to get great views of the lake no matter where you set up your camp. Day 4, we got up super early to break and pack camp just because my Garmin had said there was going to be some inclement weather moving in by late morning or early afternoon, and I just didn't feel like being on Jackass Pass when that weather moved in. Because we got up super early, the sunrise on this day was absolutely stunning and magical. It just lit up the entire Cirques and Lonesome Lake, and man, it just was breathtaking. Jackass Pass almost seems like a breeze compared to Texas Pass, but it was still quite difficult, and the challenge got the heart pumping. The views are incredible as you head over the south side of Jackass Pass. Once you get to Arrowhead Lake, there's two routes to take, the climber's route or the hiker's route. We opted for the hiker's route. The climber route goes over a boulder field and had some scree, which didn't look very friendly from afar. After you get to Arrowhead Lake and you push further south into North Lake, there's very few prime camping spots, and honestly I didn't even really see any camping spots. So if you do plan on camping here, you're gonna have to do a little work to find a spot. They are pretty lakes, but again, they don't lend themselves very well to backpacking or setting up a tent here. Once you get past North Lake, Big Sandy Lake slowly starts coming into view, and this lake is impressive. It's large and it is beautiful. I don't know what I was thinking, but coming into this trip, I just thought that this was going to be a very unimpressive lake. I don't know where that bias came from, but that was the thoughts I had had. We didn't get to fish at Big Sandy Lake, but oh darn, I guess we'll have to come back again for another trip. After Big Sandy Lake, the hike is relatively flat to slightly downhill for what seems like forever until you finish this hike. My brother and I hiked relatively quietly for the remainder of this trip, just reflecting on the sense of fun and adventure that we had here. All right, guys, that's it for me for now. Again, I am the Outdoor Gypsy. I'm signing off for now, but I will see you guys on the next adventure.